Hey YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for King-ohger episode 43. So this was kind of like the second parter. It was like a two-parter flashback episode in a way. We're kind of revealing all the secrets and questions we've had. Last week, obviously, delving into finding out that Rackley's has basically been on the side of good this whole time, but, you know, presenting an evil face. And this week kind of revealed more of the backstory about his plan and how Gira's involved, and some little more details about Gira. To be honest, it primarily just revealed why Gira is basically the shoe god's soul for Kuwagata. Like, everything else was pretty much known stuff. We just kind of got to see it play out. But basically, it's done in the format of his trial. You find out that the plan to bring down Doug Dead was basically generations long. Like, it was kind of like the Sith plan with Palpatine, but like a good and lamer version, but it had been going for years. And effectively, it culminated with him, like, asking for Gira, because he's like, oh, hey, Doug Dead, we want to serve you really well, so give us more stuff to help you destroy other places. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll do this weird pregnancy thing where I'm like, is it even Rackley's dad's kid, or is it, like, the kid of the mother and Doug's dead? I don't know. It kind of reminded me of that weird, stupid plot where they're like, oh, Terry McGinnis is Bruce Wayne's son because I injected... That was stupid. They shouldn't have done that. There was no need for it. But this isn't a review for the Justice League Unlimited finale. But anyway, so that was kind of the plan there. And, you know, they grew up together, and he bonded with Gira. We see kind of those sweet moments again, and literally sweet moments when he hands him that Jello, the flashback that was used several times. It turns out that Jello was the shoe god's soul for Kuwagata, which is hilarious and weird, and, like, I never would have guessed that in a million years. I honestly just assumed that somehow when Gira was created, he just was created out of the soul, or was the soul of that. I didn't expect it to be like he was fed that. And I guess that's what had him start losing his memories, as every time he would ingest a shoe god's soul, he would just kind of become a mindless vehicle for their cause. And, like, that's, I guess, what caused that initial motivation of, I'm going to conquer, I'm going to be a tyrant king. So it's like, he ate that Jello, and it gave him an annoying Toku catchphrase and personality. And basically, it was put a stop to before it could happen. That's what I inferred, at least, anyways. Like, then after the dad was killed, you know, Rackley's hid him. So I guess just having that one basically set him up to erase his memory, but he wasn't able to eat enough that he totally lost his humanity. And I guess Rackley's hid him both to protect him and also so that he would retain his humanity by living a human life. At least that's what I inferred. And, you know, then we kind of just fold back on what we learned last week of Rackley's was like, okay, after my dad was killed, you know, because he was discovered, like, they were suspicious of him, and we learned that the one villain guy possessed Bulk way back then, and they killed him, and they found out, you know, they were suspicious. And you know, we learned the same thing we did last week, where Rackley's was then like, okay, I have to commit myself to seeming like I'm evil the whole time. So it just kind of, you know, reconnects to what we learned last week. You know, it was good stuff, for sure, you know, showing the bond between the brothers and stuff like that. A bit weird stuff with Gira's backstory. I'll be curious if they expand any more on that. My only real issue with the backstory is, I feel like they would have pressed trying to figure out where Gira was. Maybe I'm forgetting that there was a line like Gira was killed or something, but even then, if they thought Gira was dead or lost, I just feel like since they were, like, suspicious of the dad and then killed the dad, that they would probably just have their senses up. It just feels like, as much as I like the way all this backstory is played out, and I think it's been pretty well planned, I definitely feel like there's a lot of conveniences there. Like, I don't know, that does bother me just a little bit. But definitely, like, cast Rackley's in a whole new light. And he's even like, you know, I don't want any of this on the record. I want me to go down as a tyrant king because I've had to sacrifice people literally for this, and I shouldn't be absolved of this. Of course, at the end, he is absolved. Not absolved, but he doesn't get, like, a state executed. He gets to work alongside them, which, you know, of course that was going to happen. You know, I feel like it would be kind of a nice bittersweet ending if at the end of all of it he just kind of ended up in prison for what he did. It's kind of a bittersweet sacrifice, but I get a feeling he might be off the hook, or maybe he'll die. I don't know. I feel like we don't do a lot of deaths in Sentai in recent years. But it's really funny, though, because even though this is all revealed, and I think Rackley's is doing a good job of actually presenting as a good hero, I'm still, like, waiting for him to betray them. Like, at the end when they have that really nice scene where they handshake and then it kind of, like, parallels it with the brothers hugging. I'm, like, waiting for Rackley's to pull out a sword and stab Gira. That would actually be kind of amazing and hilarious if that happened at the end of the series. But I'm still, like, he did such a good job, I'm still slightly mistrusting of him. But intermingled with that, it's funny because, like, you have this almost classic Sentai plot going on the side, which was this other villain messing with the ages of everybody in town, some growing old, some growing young. And then when the Rangers get there, it does the same thing to them. It makes them all 10. And there's, like, a funny bit where, like, Dabowski is still, like, the same because, like, they're just so well fed over there in Tofu, which I thought was hilarious. And it was only done very briefly, so I guess it didn't overstay its welcome or anything. But I did find the idea kind of creative and fun, where the kids like just couldn't resist their basically childlike urges, which is funny because usually when you have like a ranger plot or a writer plot or whatever plot of characters being turned back into kids, it goes like one of two ways. Either they're literally reverted back to like their mindset and memories of that time, so of course they're acting like a kid, or they're basically just their normal selves in a kid body. But this was like, no, they have all their memories, they know they're King-ohgers, but like they can't resist like their more childlike tendencies, like to need a parent's help or to be childish, which I thought was kind of funny. And they even transformed them into like smaller versions of their suits, which was cool. But that lasted very briefly, and it was entertaining, and honestly I thought they mostly did it just because they realized they had 2 flashback heavy episodes in a row and they wanted some sort of fun action happening, but it wound up having an important purpose. I mean, obviously that part didn't need to exist necessarily. It was just kind of fun Sentai antics. But the villain guy who's like this husk, once he gets slashed at the end, is revealed to have bi-generated into Doug Dead. No, but basically Doug Dead resurrected himself, like he had like a backup plan or something, which makes sense. I have sort of mixed feelings. On the one hand, I'm like, that makes sense. Like he was built up as this huge like intergalactic threat that had like god level power. The fact that he was defeated so easily was kind of crazy, and it definitely amps him up as a threat more, and it just makes so much more sense, especially with so many episodes. On the other hand, I also did find it to be kind of cool and a nice like subversion of expectations that he was defeated so early, and it was maybe going to be down to these other villains that were left over. I honestly thought, I was a little suspicious of the Husk guy when the plot started. I didn't think that he was going to be Doug's Dead, but I thought maybe he was going to be revealed to be like a secret like mega boss, like, oh, he was actually above Doug's Dead somehow or something like that. I knew there was going to be something, or I thought there might be, but I didn't think it was just going to be straight up Doug's Dead like in a husk. But yeah, still an overall really good episode. You know, I've really enjoyed these last 2 episodes, getting all the backstory cleared up and stuff. Like I said, I really like what they've did with Rackley's, even though I still dream of a day where we can get an evil ranger that just stays evil. I think they did this really well. They played it right. It wasn't a traditional redemption story, and like he really did commit to being a tyrant king. Like I like that it's not absolved of like, oh no, like he actually didn't kill anybody. It's like, no, he really did cause all these awful things. He basically, you know, sold his soul, like, you know, his shoe god soul for his goals, and I think that was really well done, and I was really pleased with this episode, and I think it did a good job of actually making me believe in the start of the bond between the brothers. I mean, obviously seeing the bond when they were little, but also the bond that they're going to develop now. So yeah, very well done. My only, like, this isn't a complaint about this episode, but I brought it up before, is I do kind of wish leading up to this, there had been a few more times throughout the series where Gira had at least acknowledged, like, why don't I remember this time? Like, he did have a couple small little flashbacks, like he had those tiny little ones, but it was always weird to me that he never addressed it, like wondering why he didn't have his memories or trying to get them back. I think that should have happened a couple times. Even obviously we know he probably wouldn't have got the memories back because they were waiting for this moment for the reveal. That makes sense, but I feel like just logically it would have been nice for him to bring that up. But overall, still really enjoying the show. I'm really looking forward to seeing how things shake out with the twists and turns. I'm going to be sad when it ends, especially if Boom Boomger goes back to basics. But what did you guys think of this week's episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.